have found us on YouTube Live. This is, what is this, John? May something.
May 8th?
We've moved into May already.
May 8th.
We are going to be talking about fraud and mental health today, and we have a special guest, Mr. Kyle, that is hanging out with us, Kyle King. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for showing out, and Mr. John Pope's hanging out with us. I guess, what was the negotiation there between you and Victoria? How's that working out?
It's fine.
Yeah?
It's fine. Just, but she jumped on this one real quick and said she volunteered me.
I kind of noticed that. That's why I was asking. I was kind of like, what's going on
I'm
between
glad
you and
to
her
be
there?
here.
And listen,
I like
if you're
doing this. I look forward to this.
It's the highlight of my week, honestly. Yes. So if you're finding us for the first time on YouTube, just understand that we do a YouTube Live on Thursdays at about 6:15. We fire up between that and 6:30, and it's a good way to interact with us. You know, you give us our comments through a show. We can interact with you. Tell your friends. Mash or push or click or do whatever you do to the like buttons and all that kind of stuff. So here in a minute or two, we're going to fire up what you hear on the audio version. So that's the way we kind of go. Do you have any trouble finding our office, Kyle?
Absolutely not.
You did
right
not.
Next to the chicken bucket.
Oh, I know. That's the landmark.
Exactly as you described.
Yeah.
There was a movie called Return to Oz, and there was the bad witch or whatever her name was, Mombi or something like that. She didn't like chickens, and so she'd say she hated chickens.
Okay.
And so that's why I call it the chicken bucket.
The chicken bucket.
Yeah. So.
They have good food. Are we doing a chicken bucket promotion? How did this happen? Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. There are neighbors.
Go to the Chicken King too. That's enough.
But they don't give you a chicken for your chicken bucket. Or a bucket for your chicken. I'm just going to say that.
I don't.
Yeah, but we'll have that. You ready to go, Neil?
Yeah, you ready?
All right.
You got your timer?
I do. Thank you.
Okay. Ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is Through a Therapist's Eyes, and I am your host, Chris Gazdick. We are hanging out with Mr. John Pope. How are you, sir?
I'm doing outstanding. Thank you.
And we have a special guest today. We're going to be talking about mental health and fraud. Have you had any fraud on your caseload, Neil? You're not Neil. You're John?
I'm John. I'm John Nelson.
You're John Nelson.
Right. So, yes, I've over my years of practice in counseling is quite a number, unfortunately.
This is a thing.
Fraud happens.
We'll get into it where I had a personal experience. Actually, look at that show, Neil. I want to out myself and give the number of that episode. It's a while ago, but we got Kyle King that I met just recently. It was a little bit of a random happenstance kind of meeting where just after we had some events and things that were like, wow, in my brain. He deals with this on the technical end of it.
I do.
We'll bring you in here in a little bit and tell them who you are and stuff. But this is Through a Therapist's Eyes, where you get insight from a panel of therapists in your home or car, knowing it's not delivery therapy services in any way. 3 questions that we've got today I want you to think about through the show are how can mental health challenges influence an individual's vulnerability to fraud? Definitely going to talk about the vulnerability to it. What are the psychological impacts on victims of fraud? And Kyle mentioned something just before the show that blew my brain. Stay tuned because it's kind of like, yeah, there are impacts to fraud on our mental health. Goodness. And then thirdly, how can awareness and education help prevent fraud, especially among those facing mental health issues? And we have an expert, I guess, in that domain today. So subscribe, click, mash, whatever you do to the buttons. Tell your friends. Hey, Neil, we got I don't know if you noticed this, but I got an email that, what was it, before I misquote myself? We actually have 5 new subscribers this month.
Wow.
Did you know that? You did know that. Of course, he knows
Fantastic.
that. He's always on this stuff. So we got the one that we're gonna invite. What was his name? He goes by
Alien Monkey.
Alien Monkey. Yes, Alien Monkey is a new YouTube subscriber. Welcome aboard. So please tell your friends. Your job is to help us grow in that way, so that people find us. If you like what we do, if you like what we provide. How many stars, John? I always
get 5 stars.
I always got to defer to him.
Yeah, 5 stars.
Takes it personally if you don't.
Yes, that's right. And we're on many different platforms, of course.
Yeah.
And just go ahead and give us a rating of 5 stars and leave a comment.
We're on Spotify?
I'm sure we are.
Are we on Apple Podcasts?
I know we're on Apple.
And we've got Podkicker or something that you're talking about. I don't even know what that is.
Okay. Yeah.
Listen, contact at throughatherapisteyes.com is a way to email us, get us interaction. And as always, John knows this is the human experience, which we endeavor to do what?
I don't know.
I put Victoria on the spot, too. She did the same thing.
Okay. Well,
We endeavor to figure it out together.
it's our human
right on,
experience. But that's the other thing, and we're not delivering
Therapy services of any kind.
therapy.
I said it.
Okay.
I said it. So, Kyle, welcome to Through a Therapist's Eyes, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, I think you have a lot of things in your head of yours that about this topic that I'm really curious where we're going to go, because
Yeah.
this is something that you deal with every day as an IT specialist in this deal, and I don't know. I guess we'll get into it, but I see it proliferating.
Oh, it's going to get worse.
And I was going to say, you stole my thunder, and I think it's just with all the disinformation and all the stuff that we've got that people do online, how worse can it get?
Right?
He says with a knowing laugh,
Yeah.
John, like a lot.
We're especially with the generative AI, it's going to get much worse.
Yeah.
I can see it. That attackers are going to be using that generative AI feature.
I literally had somebody
Oh my
just
gosh.
a little bit ago give me the notion. He's like, "Have you seen Trump dressed up as the Pope?"
You know, we
Did
do
you see
have
that?
we
I have
a
not
new
seen
pope.
that, but
no, it's
It's a big thing.
It made even Trump look good.
Oh, he
And that's-
did.
So yeah,
He looked great. He looked like he'd be the Pope. He was sitting up there with a big old Pope thing,
Mitre
gowns
and,
and whatever.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to go find
Skulls.
that.
It's hysterical, and the reporters were asking him, because you know all the stuff they say, that, you know, whether you're for or against, it's got some humor to it.
Sure,
Like,
absolutely.
he's like, I don't know anything about it. I didn't do this. I'm not arrogantly presenting myself as the Pope. You know, come on, please. You know, but
Yeah.
they were bugging him about it. It was interesting. So Kyle, man, Mr. Kyle King is a technology and cybersecurity expert with nearly 30 years of experience. We're not going to comment about age, John.
no, we are not.
Kyle and I are youngsters,
Yes, you are.
right, Kyle?
I'll take that.
We're going to hang on with it. He has experience across various industries. You are a native of Hickory, North Carolina.
I am.
All right. Born and raised in North Carolina and stuck around. Congratulations.
I did.
That's-
Have
that's
not
rare.
left. I know.
That
Little
is-
stint in Raleigh, but I came back here, close to home.
Oh, you went all the way to Raleigh.
I know, right?
That's the faraway land.
Exactly.
For those around the world, that is actually in our state, only about 3
That
miles
is
away.
the capital of
That is the capital of North Carolina.
Towards the east.
Fun fact. The global leader, he works for Checkpoint Software Technologies, the global leader in cybersecurity that invented the firewall in 1993.
Really?
Invented the firewall.
I am
Correct.
impressed.
As an engineering manager, Kyle spends his work days guiding cybersecurity engineers. Engineers is a big term. That means he's big, John. I don't know. I'm just saying. Those engineers are amazing people. They're really brilliant. So if you're managing them, or do they manage you?
Maybe a little both.
Maybe a little both.
Yeah.
Well, we work
We play
it out
off- we-
together.
right. We
try
figure it
to
out
figure
together.
Exactly. So they develop their careers advising companies of all sizes on how to best secure their digital assets. As a testimony to his technical and interpersonal skills, he was invited to join this elite team of cybersecurity evangelists for the office of the CTO. So, yeah, as long as that goes, man. What brought you to that work? What do you do? How do you work? What is that whole world like?
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, it was wanting to know how that digital world started working back in the 90s.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to state my age. I mean, I'm old. And it's just evolved into a passion. Once I started getting into, the desktop support and then moving into, different phases of that world that you can get into, one of my passions became cybersecurity. And, therefore, I've landed at this job where I help people and help corporations evolve their cybersecurity presence and try to prevent the hackers from getting their data.
Yeah.
And I've been there for
wild.
9 years, but that's just been my life a lot.
Okay, I mean, it's funny because we'll get into it. There's a little segment that I want to get to later, but it pops in my head. I mean, I had I have a buddy, life buddy. Shout out to Adrian. He did a show called Technology Anxiety, and I'm sure I'm going to repeat this later, but he makes the point that he identifies that there's two problems he has to deal with, right? The technical problem that the person's bringing to the
Right.
table. But he recognizes if he doesn't deal with the first problem first, then he's never really going to make progress in resolving that situation and circumstance. Any idea? I'm curious how you'll say what is the other problem that he's trying to work with?
Well, I'm just curious. What is that other problem that that he thinks?
The anxiety of the people.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
facilitating people, and I guess what is actually your position with the people? Like, how do you work directly with the customer? Do you work directly with?
I do. I interact directly with the customer. So what we do is we go in there and learn their challenges. What's the problem that they're trying to solve? And then
Right.
we architect solutions for them. Now, that does create anxiety because they may or may not be understanding of our platform, which, again, going from one platform to another, can create anxiety because, okay, how am I going to do this? I don't have time to train. I got very limited resources. How am I going to manage all this?
Also, it involves a computer, right? That doesn't
Right.
work well sometimes. Yeah,
And it's up to me is to kind of ease the pain and anxiety from them. It's like, okay, well, let me help you do this. Let's educate you here. Let's bring that anxiety level down because it is a big task. I mean, when you're thinking about a individual or a group of individuals, trying to protect the crown jewels of the corporation that they're working for.
This is valuable information. High stakes.
You think of a healthcare company or a financial company that somebody is responsible for protecting that data, that however many users that they support. Well, that can create a lot of anxiety. And trust me, I used to work on that side of the house where I was that person. So I would have direct reports, and we would work as a team to protect that data.
You know what's
And
funny?
it's very
I'm gonna
important.
make you laugh.
Okay.
I am, as the founder of Metrolina, I have to make decisions and stuff, and I want the hard drive. I want the data. I want
Right.
the stuff right here, right where I can access. It's not linked to the internet and whatever. Doing all that stuff, man. I just feel like it just is so much more secure because nobody can have access.
Well, and
That's the way I want to go.
where is it today? Everything's in the cloud.
No, not my stuff. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I'm gonna like that.
So yeah, but there's a lot of people that feel the same way, and that's where I try to break it down on layman's terms. Is like help them understand, how can they understand that deep dive technology in such a way that they can comprehend.
John, you think he knows anything about HIPAA?
Oh,
Yes.
I bet he does. Yeah, I
Have
know
you
he does.
read the HIPAA law? Sadly
It'll
enough.
put you to sleep.
You need to check the YouTube live and see his facial expression on that. Before I forget, how do people find you? I want to make sure that if they need help, if their
Yeah,
company
absolutely.
needs help, if their individual small home space needs help, like
Right.
what can you serve? What do you do? And how do they find you?
Right. So my company services a lot of corporations and
don't be
organizations.
shy.
And you can find me definitely on LinkedIn, and you can reach out to me. That's probably one of the best ways and the easiest ways. And if you have a problem, I can direct you. Especially even if you're just an individual, you want to take a look at what protections that we offer on that side. I can guide you to that as well.
And you have a phone number, an address, anything that email? How do they
Everything's
get
on LinkedIn. To be honest.
Oh, you're a LinkedIn freak.
I am. So yeah. So if they want to reach out to me there, they'll just find me by Kyle King.
Did you actually buy the premium version of LinkedIn?
I do have that.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I do have
Are
that.
you're on LinkedIn?
Yeah, but I don't do the premium. I don't like any social media stuff, John. It drives me nuts. Neil gets on my case all the time. I probably ought to do better,
I'm on
but I don't.
LinkedIn. I like to see how many searches I've been in.
Are you? Do you have the premium also?
No.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I get told how many
Oh, yeah.
every day,
They look you up all the time.
all the time. My dissertation is out there.
And
Nice.
make sure that we have the links. Actually,
Absolutely.
probably
I can
look
send
up,
it to you.
but,
Absolutely. I'll get
email
that to
us
you.
or make sure that we have. We'll have it on show notes so you can find Kyle and he can help you out with big or small.
Yes,
how big?
absolutely.
What's the levels there? How do we?
Doesn't
work?
really matter if it's a company. We can help big or small. If it's an individual, we have products that can help there as well.
Can you help my Ring camera work?
Well, that actually probably could do.
Actually,
I've got a couple of them, so I might be able to help.
quick funny story. My kid was like being disobedient on the porch, and he texts me. He's like, "Dad, look at the camera, look at the camera, look at the camera." And I was like, "Little did you know, I haven't looked at the camera in about 3 years. I don't think I have a feed. I think I still pay for it. I don't know."
Right.
you know. All right, let's look at the intersection between what might feel like an odd intersection, but I don't think it's disconnected at all. mental health and fraud. How are those things? How do both of you? How do y'all think this is connected?
Oh, it's very connected, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I see it all the time. You think of the mental anguish of somebody being deceived and maybe losing money or losing their confidential information. To me, that's a very big impact on somebody's
And
mental
I
health.
think there's vulnerable populations, and we're talking about the elderly a lot of times.
Oh, it makes
People
me
that-
so mad.
People that have serious mental illness. I'm thinking in terms of people that might be delusional and have
Right.
might be schizoaffective, which is on the schizophrenia spectrum.
Right.
And so, or they may be bipolar, and they may be in a manic state, and then they get tricked into something.
Right.
So it's horrible.
Well, let me throw just a question out to you guys. FBI put this data out in 2024. The amount of loss for those individuals,
Oh, we're
60
going
plus,
there already.
How
Wow.
much do you think?
I don't even want to venture a guess, John, because I think it just.
I'm
mean,
sure there's millions.
at least
So.
multi. 7 digits is not enough. Are we going to 8 digits, Kyle?
Yeah,
you're
you're
going,
going-
to 9 digits. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's up there. I believe that the number is 4.8 billion. something.
$4.8
Yeah,
billion
something like that.
in
It is.
a year.
A year.
A year. And that's the reported. That's not counting the ones that don't report, right?
Yeah,
That are embarrassed.
Correct.
That
Full of shame.
ashamed.
Correct.
right. It's debilitating.
It is. It is.
And we're talking about life savings. aren't
Absolutely.
we? Because they're people that probably are on very much fixed incomes.
Absolutely.
And may have the only type of pension they may have is Social Security.
Yeah.
So
You know what? Let's blow a myth off. That's part of what we like to do on the show is blow up stereotypes and myths and disseminate information about mental health and substance abuse. And so I think there's a very big myth out there. Neil, you got that show episode? Okay. So I'm going to out myself. John, I'm not a stupid person. Would you say maybe?
not today.
Not today.
No,
some
you're
some
not.
days I might have my,
You're a
my,
very
my moments.
intelligent person.
I'm fairly intelligent.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier CEOs. They're fairly smart people, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a myth that people sort of make jokes about, have fun about. They talk about the stories or people that they knew, and it's kind of like it's a little belittling the way that people talk about victims of fraud.
It can't happen to me because I'm not the victim type.
Right. And I got to tell you, episode 38, Neil. So he looked up the episode. That was way early on. I actually had this deal where, long story short, they caught me at the right moment, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they spun the story as they had me on the phone that I had missed a federal jury case in Charlotte.
Right.
And that no big deal. I mean, they played it up well. No big deal, no problem. We just got to fix this out. There's a fine of like $430 that we need to pay, and then we'll reimburse you. You come down to the station, whatever. And he played me along. And I mean, I'm sitting there like, this is crap, but this isn't crap. But if I'm going to the station, I'm gonna shake your hand and look at you in the eyeball. And he do have me running around. And like I said, long story short, I got to the point where I actually went to Walgreens. He got me to Walgreens and bought one of those. What is it that I know? His eyes are wide open, right? Like the cards that you're supposed to buy.
the gift cards.
Yeah. And that's a dead giveaway that's going on. But I had never heard of that at that point yet. And so I had the card to put the money on it. He's like, all right, just read the numbers on the back of the card and make sure and confirm
Yeah,
that the money's
right.
there. And I said, no, sir. No, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Because my one thing that I said in my head, if I'm going to shake your hand and look at you in the eye and I'm in a PlayStation, I figured that this is legit.
Right.
Otherwise, it ain't legit. Boom, the line went dead. So they didn't get anything from me.
Yeah.
But my point is how easy is it to get got, Kyle?
Absolutely, very easy. Because what they did, they gave you a sense of urgency, something that was missed, and you're going to, incur financial debt or whatever the case may be because you missed that court date, right? So that's how they prey on people.
Right.
They find that sense of urgency, or they find that thing that somebody's been missing. Maybe you mentioned romance earlier. Maybe it's a romantic connection that they've missed, or maybe it's somebody looking to do an investment opportunity. They look for those, very subtle things, and they prey upon it. And it's very well. Let me ask you this: how many text messages have you received about the Easy Pass toll?
Oh, absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. You
My
missed
wife
this.
asked me about that the other day. Don't.
Right.
Don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it.
Exactly right.
I had a friend that was literally on her phone. She's like, "Oh man, I got to deal with this," and I'm like, "No, hold
Right.
on, don't do that. Don't click the button."
Or your
And it's-
package is late.
And it's funny because they don't even have the click.
Right.
You have to reply, and then on the reply, it activates all of the clicks, and then you can do the click. And then
Exactly.
once you click, they got you.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, and then it gets even better from there. So now, with the deep fake technology that's out there, they can use your voice. So they can just take a very few seconds of your voice and create a whole deep fake where now it's an audio call. It's a physical phone call to you that could be creating that sense of urgency.
I've heard that there, for example, you might get this call from London, England, and United Kingdom, and it said, "I'm stuck here and I need help."
right.
And they want you to wire money to them.
Absolutely.
So let's break those down a little bit and look at individually a little bit. First you're talking about finding that urgency. My big take is that fear-based feelings
Right.
are right at the center of this. So any level of insecurity, any level of urgency is the word you're using, any level of fear, and I would throw in there clinically, we see anxiety in all sorts that, somebody has, John, you said who's more vulnerable and whatnot. There are specific vulnerabilities to which fear-based feelings is one of that.
Right. I would agree 100%.
So, in other words, they appealed to you because they know, obviously, you're an intelligent man and that sort of thing. But, of course, your limbic system goes into overdrive, and then you start to panic. Your mind panics, and you don't stop. And so you don't stop your mind from thinking. I mean, you and that's the problem.
They get you going.
They
It
get you
does.
going.
I mean, when that happened to me on episode 38, you'll hear I literally did the show, Kyle, like about an hour and a half after this ordeal was done, and I pulled a complete audible, and I just told my co-host at the time, I said, "Craig, you know what? We're just going to do this show on this, and I'm just going to relieve my story," and I was in it. It was raw because it literally had just happened, and it demonstrates how, again, I'm fairly intelligent. I'm fairly grounded and reasonable, but man, yeah.
Well, I was also I've taught at 2 universities, and you think those people have PhDs, and they're all very sophisticated.
Right.
Nah, they're just as gullible as anybody else.
Well,
Because
absolutely. And,
Yeah.
not only that, some people just get curious. Yeah. I have a story where,
I'm glad you said that because I think the gullibility factor needs to be reframed to
Right.
what you're right.
it's very curious because some people just really get that curiosity factor. And they'll know all the telltale signs, like they get an email from somebody that they don't know, and it includes an attachment they weren't expecting.
IRS.
And it has misspellings in the body of the language of the text. And
and even in the email,
Right.
return.
And then they'll say, and then they'll click on it. And you ask them, well, why did you do that? I was curious to see what would happen. And of course, now their PC's infected, or they've been taking
This is-
vulnerability or
this-
whatever.
And that's what I was trying
That's a true
to go
story,
to.
by the way.
By the way, where I taught, there was we had training all the time because at one place I was at, we got ransomed.
Right.
We got because somebody let them in.
Sure.
And so guess what? They were always sending us. IT was always sending us.
As they should.
Yeah, reminders and also trials and tests.
Right.
So, and so you had to be very much on guard.
And another component of this is going to literally, whenever I talk about this, I can feel the anger about this next one. It's already been mentioned, but I don't know, man. When I was like 10 years old, I was a young little tyke, probably single digits actually. My little old grandmama, she would walk miles to a department store, and she walked home after her shift, and one particular day, some dude decided to like purse snatch her. And I mean, it did something in me.
Right.
It really did. And so part of what I've see in our caseloads over the years, is this romance fraud thing. And a lot of times it's from Facebook, dating sites and this type of thing, and it's just terrible. It literally, I can feel it as I'm speaking. Like,
Right.
it bothers me. Why do you prey on, defenseless older people that are lonely, and how big of a deal is romance fraud?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the top 5.
Yeah.
According to the elderly attack vectors, I guess I would call it, because that is that way that they build that connection. They build the trust. And it's not something that's a quick thing, because it's a very long, drawn-out thing when it gets into the romance thing, typically. And what they're looking for is, once they build that connection, I mean, it could be like an overseas connection or something of that nature, where they're saying, hey, I want to come see you in person, but I don't have the monetary funds. Can you send me, help me out, and can you send me some stuff?
Nickel
Or,
and
hey, I
dime
got this
here and there,
investment opportunity, and look, I just need a few more bucks in order to get that investment, and then we're going to be set, and then we can go off to wherever, right? Those are the kinds of things. So they prey on that.
Or they say they're a celebrity or something like that.
Could be.
Right.
Absolutely. It's amazing how that personal connection and that will just impact somebody's lives.
Like, the impacts are so profound.
Right.
On the mental health, the helplessness, the betrayal, the pit that you go down on. I hear everyone with their jokes. I'm the punk. I'm sitting here literally with egg on my face. Like, that episode 38 was kind of risky for me. I really took a leap a little bit to share all of that. And I'll tell you, even more currently, an example of the way that you feel. And this makes me super mad. John, I'm getting ticked off. You're going to have to de-escalate me. Do you know, we literally just had a check fraud that happened to my mom.
Oh.
Check fraud.
Yeah.
She's in a facility, dementia, and somebody, I'm not going to name the facility. They're a great facility, actually. The person was immediately fired. And I don't mind going public with this because it was just wrong. It's real fresh and real raw. Snatched out daggum checks, live checks. Now, I didn't know they was live in the facility. They shouldn't have been, but that's a different story. Direct access to her bank account, bro.
Right.
By the way,
old
the
school.
police are coming if they haven't already. It's that fresh. It's that raw. But what my point is, family, friends, the individual. Now, my mom doesn't know any better, sadly. But the helplessness, the anger that you have. What are you supposed to do when you're a victim of this kind of stuff?
Well, and I've had friends reach out to me and says, "Hey, I did something stupid," and where they've got a call or they clicked on something and they said, "Hey, your PC's infected. You need to call this number." Well, they may have, and this person on the other end of the phone says, "I need this remote access." Oh yes, so I've had those calls, from friends even, and they're shamed, and
It's very shaming.
when that happens. But it's when you are a victim to that, and you feel like you fall prey to something that simple, where I was asked to call that number and I did, and somebody on the other end tricked me.
Yep.
I mean, that creates a pit in your stomach. And
Well, 50 years ago, I mean, it wouldn't have happened 50 years ago, but let's just say even 20 years ago, we weren't that sophisticated at that level. And now it's like they've got every trick in the book. And it's so, and I'd get so frustrated, by the way, with all these two-step authentication.
Oh, I hate two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
But you really hit me later when I give suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come to a segment where he tells us to do all the things that frustrate us, John.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, because those kinds of things did not exist back then.
You're right.
And now with AI, that's only going to get worse, because it's real easy for AI to create a site that looks like a PayPal site,
Right.
or a Netflix site, or something of that nature. And now, instead of the Nigerian prince that has all these misspelled words in the email, now it's
And
perfectly,
they're overly
perfectly good language that may sound like somebody.
Cleaned it up.
because it's cleaned up. But not only that, it could also include, maybe it's from a supposed friend of that person, and that person, it sounds just like that email, the way that
That's
person
crazy. That's where we're going with
Yeah, it
this.
is.
It is
It
going
is.
to get even more convincing
Well,
because
is.
of
Well,
those
thanks
technologies.
to AI, we're all going to sound alike because we end up having everything corrected by AI. I'm just that's
we
another.
do. I mean,
that's-
they
I've taken myself off of Grammarly because it stole my voice. So I'm,
Well, think about QR codes, right? So, do you know about the brushing scam that's going around?
no,
So, you know what brushing is?
I do not.
Okay, so brushing is a term that think of like Amazon or eBay or some package that comes from them. It's where a vendor,
real package,
like a
or-
real package, physical package, gets dropped on your doorstep.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, you didn't order it; it just gets dropped.
Okay.
Okay. So no information about it, but somebody has created. Typically, they do this to boost ratings and reviews in whatever they're
heard of
trying to
this,
sell.
yeah.
So, however, it can be used maliciously because what they're doing is they're creating some fake account. They got your address. They send you the package. You have no clue, but it comes with a gift receipt. Just like Amazon would give you a gift receipt. That gift receipt contains a QR code.
Okay.
You scan that QR code. Now you've been taken to a malicious site. Now you're putting in your information.
This has happened in my parents'
It is.
neighborhood, and I'm doing a watch. It's down in Florida, and this has happened to several people.
Various
After
people in the
receiving-
neighborhood.
yeah.
My gosh, should we just go around the room here and get personal examples of this stuff? Like, Neil, what do you got? Let's give Neil a mic. What happened to you, man? It's common. Is
It
the
is.
point
It's very
there,
common.
right? Like, it's really common,
Right.
and the impacts are profound. Before you turn the show on, like, how profound can this get to?
In my line of business, life or death. To
Life
be honest,
or
life
death?
or death.
How so?
And so there's a story where a high level executive at a company, because the company had been attacked and got impacted by ransomware, as you mentioned before, they couldn't handle the stress, and they ended up doing something very bad to themselves.
Right. There was a young boy going on with this too that was on social media, and I think he was on his computer or an iPad, but he sent a picture that was inappropriate because he thought he was talking to a young lady, and they sent it to and they tried to, and I guess basically
The underage sex
thing,
charges and
sex
stuff.
charges
Yeah.
and all that, and tell his parents and all of that. And he, before they even knew about it, he killed himself.
Right.
So
And
Look,
let's think
when
of
you say life
cyberbullying.
and death,
It is
life-
this
it is
is
life and
life and death sometimes
It
in
is.
the aftermath or in the process. Shame builds up, and if you touch on anything, this can be. I mean, people jumped out buildings at the
Right.
stock market drop. This is scary stuff.
It is, and people don't realize it. I mean, people, when you think about cyberbullying, we've heard that term plenty, and now that social media has exploded and things like that, it's easy for teens and stuff to fall prey to that. But then when you get into our world where we're starting to do business with electronically and everything's on our phone or everything's on our tablet, do we rarely sit in front of a PC anymore? No, everything's a mobile device these days. Now it becomes even more scary because you can download a simple app and that be a malicious app. And now they have access to everything
are
on
we
your
talking
phone.
about TikTok?
I don't know. I don't have TikTok.
They're gonna cancel us, John. What happened here? It's interesting, Kyle. I had planned on asking you a question directly. It fits here now. How often have you ever thought of yourself as a therapist, brother? Right?
Not really, but I have to talk people off of ledges, so to speak. Not
be
generally,
careful. Is
not
that
really
literal or
ledges,
not?
but
October 29th,
I do have to talk about them.
1929.
Right.
So I do, have to kind of reassure them as like, okay, all right, you're good. Nothing on this PC or nothing on this device is impacted. You're safe. So
Yeah, I think I said it. I don't know if the YouTube thing was on or the mics were off, but my friend is a technology expert, and he did an episode on our show. Neil, it might be cool to check that one out too. Technology anxiety, because he is excellent at what he does, and I mean, he made that point. He's got to deal with the both problems.
we do.
If you're not dealing with the customer's mental health, you're just being incomplete because
Right.
they won't know what to do, or they don't know how to proceed. It's just so debilitating.
Yeah.
Like it puts you in a place where you can't even think straight.
Yeah, I've had friends call and says, "I know better than to do this, but it happened. What do I
yeah.
do?"
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, you talking about therapy. I guess I put my therapist hat on. I said, okay, let's just get some information first, and let's figure out what happened, what really happened, and then let's go from there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, some of the things I do when I get those phone calls.
So they're dealing with guilt and shame,
Absolutely.
and embarrassment.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on early. It was episode 9, so we're hitting these things early in our history
Yeah.
of our show. And
I'm
by
gonna
the
have to
way,
check that out.
you have to go to the
That was
website.
pre-COVID.
That was way pre-COVID, and you have to go to the website throughatherapistdies.com to get those early versions of the show. So we're finally coming around, actually 300 and what episode to technology stuff, because we've touched on it, but not not enough, because talking to Adrian about that, and all that he sees and all that he's dealing with. I mean, you're just inundated with this, I'm sure, like on a
Oh, it
high
is.
level also.
Yeah, I have people come up to me all the time, and not just people around the community, but to your point, customers and whatnot. They'll reach out to me and they'll ask questions, and how can I prevent this? How do I protect against this? And let's face it, you're talking about COVID. When COVID happened, for most corporations, everything became a snow day for the entire globe
For a year.
Right. So it's like, how do you deal with not having somebody physically in an office that
Oh,
you're trying to
wow.
protect? So we were I'll be honest, we had a very busy year, because those are most of the questions that we had to field is like, okay, how can I protect this user that's sitting at their house that cannot come into the office now?
Now, you do, like, for example, I guess there's an institutional way that you have a way of, in a way, even though it's a person's personal computer, it's the institution that might have, there's ways of authentication.
Absolutely.
And so you have to go through those steps. And so that computer has to be checked out.
Right.
So it's protects the institution from, or the business.
Absolutely. And it's up to the business whether they want to supply the laptops, or
No,
if they want
That's-
to allow their own.
I worked
but
for a
it's- yeah.
school.
An institution.
An institution. They didn't do that, but they sure messed up my computers, because everything was kind of locked into them. They were tied into them.
Right.
So,
But you just mentioned something, Kyle, that is another major mental health focus point here that I didn't even think about. That's fascinating, because what you just said is when COVID hit, the whole marketplace shifted to, as you said, a snow day. But what my brain went to
wonderful
is
way of talking about it.
but what my brain went to is isolation.
Oh, all right. Right.
Is it true to
Loneliness, yeah.
say that isolation is a major factor in becoming a victim of fraud and getting indoctrinated into all this?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we still have, I still talk with folks today that never leave the house. They're still in that mindset where they're never going to go back to the office whatsoever.
Well, but what I
And-
mean is I know, like in my own experience, the big catch when they get you going, don't hang up.
Right.
Don't ever hang up. You got to stay on the line. You
Right.
don't want to break the connection. I'm talking to you. We're going to work this out. I'm going to see you all the way through this. And they literally stayed on the phone and at one point I was messing with them. I was like, let's just see how long that guy's going to stay on the phone. I mean,
Oh, I have fun with them too.
I think
Once in a
I
while.
did progress notes and stuff a couple, just to see. I was like, and they were going to just stay with me the entire time, reassuring me, "Hey, we're doing this with a few different people. You're only number 5 that I'm dealing with, so take your
Right.
time. We'll get, because they don't want you to break that contact.
Right.
Why?
Because it's kind of like walking onto a car dealership lot. If you leave, chances of you buying a car, coming back and buying a car, well, now the chances of you actually going through with whatever they're trying to do is less. So that's kind of how you got to think about it. Now, it's almost like when we were back in the office, and I kind of relate it like this. When we were in the office and we had those water cooler conversations.
Important.
Right. Very important. It's that human interaction. And that's what build those relationships, build that trust. And that's what they're trying to do when they have you on that phone. They're trying to build that relationship with you in a short amount of time to get you to do what they want you to do so that they can gain access to whatever they're looking for, right? Whether it's personal data, whether it's sensitive information, whatever.
And what is newer, I think, in growing is the relationship building.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Oh, wow. Look again, his face on YouTube Live if you don't
Well,
see this on the audio version, because tell me about the relationship component.
Social engineering is a primary way that attackers prey on people. That's primarily what they do. They will look into ways to get into a business, let's say corporation. They will actually look for people that could be disgruntled, right? And they will approach that disgruntled person and says, "Hey, guess what? I know you're not happy, but if you do this for me, you plant this little, run this little program on your PC at work.
Oh my gosh!
I'll give you a little bit of the benefits, and you can get back at them. Yeah, those are the kinds of things
Are
that
you
you got to
saying
think.
they're targeting
Yes.
people with information about their posts or
Oh, absolutely.
things they're saying on social media,
Absolutely.
and maybe a disgruntled employee who just got a new job and they're going back to the old Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, it works on so many different levels, though. I mean, that's also, you can post stuff on your social media and you're disgruntled, and then your boss reads it. You
Right.
you can get fired as well.
Right.
So, but you're right about that. There's a backdoor kind of entrance into this as well, and I don't know if you. I think Kevin Mitnick does that, right?
Right,
He's the reformed hacker that
he is.
does the consulting, and
If you ever
so
hear him talk, he's a great speaker. By the
yeah.
way.
So you there's so many stealthy ways to break in.
That's rough, because what I was thinking when the relationship component that I've seen in my caseload are people that get a relationship built with, let's just say, a random name, Rinky. Rinky is a guy across the pond in another country, and you talk with Rinky. Rinky texts you. You develop a texting relationship. You and Rinky are now friends. You've been doing this for 6 months, and Rinky begins to understand that, oh, you're a business owner. Oh, wow. Oh, what do you do for business? And you're building a full-blown friendship you feel like you have
And
online.
Rinky may or may not be a real person. It could also be a
right.
bot.
Of course
bot,
he is.
yeah.
But that's where the social engineering aspect comes in, because the more more people post online
Social
and
engineering.
that they have access to, the more information. For everybody that posts, hey, I went to the bathroom this day or this hour, that's information that they're going to use. Anything like that. If you're going to post, names of kids or dogs or whatever,
Know your
They know it.
schedule.
They're gonna know it.
So in other words, let's say that something's done by like there's a guard at a door or something
Right.
like that. They can be let in because you might have this relationship, and so they come in and they do espionage on you.
All right,
So,
we're terrifying people. We're going to have a segment here in a little bit of what to do to prevent some of this. I'm sure that needs to be a part.
I think that was one of the criticisms. We need to do more of that. So-
Because this is getting scary. It's uncomfortable. It's terrifying, because this next part of how much do people get? How much do they get paid? They would have got about 4 bills off of me if they would have been successful. But I'm willing to say that $435 for a fine missing a jury thing is really pretty mild compared to what people get paid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's on average of the stat I gave earlier, roughly 83,000 was the average means that they.
$83,000 they are
Of loss.
stealing from people
Loss.
that are in some ways
Are we
unattainable
talking
to get back.
individuals?
Yes.
Are we talking
A company, a
83K?
And again, this is just focused on 60 plus. That's not including the other age brackets at this point.
Well, that's why my mom's never gone on a computer. So
That's a good thing.
Because they have a life savings and
Right.
they're taking it.
Right.
So-
Taking it.
What if you got a phone call from a relative and it sounds just like that person?
Oh, Aunt Mary. She's a lovely lady.
Right. What if you got a phone call and it says, hey, I was in an accident. They're getting ready to take me to jail because I was texting. Right? What would you do? Unless you give me some money to this.
I got to
this
help Aunt
lawyer,
Mary.
And
Right.
if it's a nephew or something like that, and you know that nephew has a problem,
Right.
you know you're gonna do something.
Those are what are known as vishing scams. There's a lot of ishing scams. by the way.
Ish?
Ishing.
Ishing.
The
Fishing.
Not fishing.
Vishing with a V.
Vishing.
Vishing with
That
a
is
V.
a new term.
Yeah. There's all kinds of terms. So
What are a few?
fishing, which we all know.
And
PH.
PH.
And vishing.
Vishing with a V. That's voice.
I'm going to be disappointed if
yep.
you don't say catfishing.
Well, catfishing's a different kind of
God,
thing.
yes.
But there's a smishing, which is
Smishing.
texting.
All right, I'm losing my mind now.
There's the
then
brushing.
And there was
There's the
smirsh. But that was from Get Smart.
there's quishing with a
Quish.
Q,
Quishing.
and that's the QR code. Trickery.
Unbelievable.
There's all
I
kinds of things.
literally don't even know these terms.
So there's a sucker born every second, but we're all suckers.
And that's the point, John. Like,
so
for real,
we
I-
can't beat ourselves up on
If
this.
there's one thing I really want to get out to people is how vulnerable we really are to all the different ploys and all the different dynamics that go into this. And as the technology gets better and you really do have a bot with a sexy voice that's going to give you everything that you ever imagined possible, and it's really good things never happened to you, but it's happening today, Kyle. Like, bam.
Right.
Wild.
Absolutely. It's kind of scary.
So there'll be a point where they pass the Turing test, which is where artificial intelligence actually is sentient, that it's going to be undetectable, essentially. Right now, it's almost undetectable.
It's getting close, and that's where you have to. I mean, in my line of business, I mean that's where we have to have AI-based tools to fight the AI.
Yeah, basically AI is going to fight AI.
Right.
That's
right.
what we're getting to, isn't it?
Exactly. Because I think I mentioned this to you before. There's only so much the human brain can consume as far as information. When they look at an email that comes across, right? If they see it from a person they trust, right? It looks great. They see it contains verbiage that sounds just like that person because maybe some scrape like grabbed it from some social media post. It sounds just like that person. And hey, I need you to click on this link. They click on this link, they put in the information. Well, that's all it took. In the background, that's where the AI tools come in.
And keep in mind, I have some knowledge. I'm kind of geeky in science and stuff. I just enjoy this. I mean, I just want to point out to people understand when we're talking about this in a way where they get 3 seconds of your voice, but then from that 3 seconds, they can have a whole conversation.
Sure.
In that syntax and in that voice tone and you think you're talking to your nephew,
Sure.
as John said, right?
Right.
Like it's not just like they're repeating something.
Right.
Actually able to extrapolate an entire conversation just from one little recording.
It's unreal. So the more you post on social media of your voice and your face, and the more opportunity there is for deep fakes and stuff
John,
like that.
what are we doing on an international podcast,
Well, this
brother? That's not good.
they're going to get my idiosyncrasies and my cadence of my voice.
They'll even drop in a song
So,
in a
that's
song
right.
reference when they do you. Oh, we do. We make jokes, but this is it. I'm just even experiencing this conversation. We have gone like about
So
45
we're in the
minutes
matrix
already.
right now.
Huh?
We're in the matrix.
We could be. No, what I'm making the point is like this is such an interesting conversation. It grabs me in. Like it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been talking for 5 minutes.
Right. Well, same here, and I could go on and on about this because there's so many examples, right? Where that I have, just throughout my career of being involved with, and one thing I want to make sure everybody comes away with. Yes, technology can be scary, but there are ways that you can use it in a safe way, and also ways to protect yourself. So. It's not gloom and doom. It's not forever gloom and doom.
It feels gloomy.
Right? But
Just feels doomy.
So do you have like cloud software that your company provides, that your industry provides?
All right, let me
that could be
set this
helpful?
up, John. We're in the segment clearly. Thank you for the transition, Kyle. Of how do we fight back, man?
Right.
Well, this is what I'm. Yeah.
How do we fight back for real?
Help!
Help us! Right.
So, for the corporations and businesses that I deal with, I mean, we have enterprise-based products that we can do that with. But that's obviously not going to fit the typical person. But we do have products that can actually help. Now, there are simple things without any products that you could do, which is
Now, when you
you're
say a
gonna mean-
product, what do you really mean by
So-
that? Like, you got to dumb that down to me.
Yeah. So, for instance, one thing that you always put on your PC was antivirus, right?
Something about McAfee or something.
You're right. It could be McAfee, it could be something, right?
Yeah.
What do you put on your mobile device?
My credit card, my
Right.
social security number,
I mean,
my
I have
contacts,
a Samsung that just knocks,
You know,
but
my,
that's
my bank account.
Right.
No, I don't put any of that on my stuff, man.
Right.
To be honest with you, nothing.
have it
That-
on your- you have
No,
it on
dude,
your-
that Apple Wallet I refuse to ever use. It will never happen.
You
okay.
have it. It's on your phone.
But that thing travels with you everywhere. Should
Yeah.
you not have some type of security on that device?
I do not. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something that I was talking to we did a show with what was he? He was a private investigator. Oh man, it's been a while, dude. I forget his name. Anyway, he made a statement that your social security number now almost doesn't matter. Your phone number is what matters.
There's a
get
lot of
everything
information you can
from
get from
that.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, wild.
I mean, it used to be it can be done, but we used to talk to businesses about account takeovers. That now that all your emails in the cloud, and you give me your business card, chances are I could take over
Just off
your
the business
account.
card.
Just off your business
Oh
card.
man, John, you're beaming. What?
8675309. I had to.
You had to do it. He was bursting out of his chair. I thought we were going to have some sort of brilliant moment from John Pope, and that's cool. I
No,
love that.
it is your phone. Yeah, your phone
Yes.
number, and maybe I have to change my phone number or something. But
Well,
they
some
have it
people will
anyway.
have two phones specifically so that they have their personal
I have a
phone
work
and everything
phone
and their
and I
professional
have-
phone.
I have-
That's going to be a thing.
So, yeah.
But then
We're
you
gonna
don't
be-
want to carry that. Most people don't want to carry two phones.
Double
But-
fisting?
no.
We're gonna double fist.
I don't want to do
That's just with beer.
But so it's that's the kind of things that people don't think about. It's like those tablets, those mobile devices these days. They're so crucial and have so much information on them. We don't even think about it. Your banking app is probably on your phone. Your credit card app is probably on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Facebook has all your contacts are on your phone.
And you can get your phone wiped. You can wipe your phone, can't you, remotely?
You can, but there's also ways to disable it before that happens. So one of the things that so you can take. I actually did this trick on my wife. I was taking a training session one day, and
Does he mess with you?
I'm
Oh,
sitting-
you told me this story. I
I'm
know where we're
sitting
going.
in I'm literally sitting in Dallas, and she's in Charlotte. And I text her and I said, "Hey, click on this. I need you to install this. We're testing out a piece of software." Again, back to the social engineering aspect, right? I already have the relationship, so she
Yeah.
trusts me, right? So she did. I turned on the microphone. I looked at her calendar. I looked at her contacts, and
Wow.
these are the kinds of things that hackers can do. And a lot of people don't even think about something as simple as updating your device on a regular basis because it's software. Software always has vulnerabilities. Updating that device on a regular basis, as well as the applications on that device, are
And,
crucial.
and it used to be Apple was solid, but it's not anymore.
No.
It sounds- Right, but the
Solid meaning protected, or
protected and all
encrypted
that,
and
but
whatever.
that's long gone.
Well-
But like on Teams, for example, I can if I were leading a class, I could turn on people's mics, turn them off, control the monitor, and visit, and all that.
There's been stories where a executive has had a bunch of money taken from, say, their 401k because their kid downloaded a malicious app outside of the app store.
That might be more than $83,000 more.
Probably. But
What happened to this? The guy that was punked about being selected. What was his name? Sanders' son.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Deshaun.
Oh, Deshaun Sanders. Oh, on the draft.
Yeah, on the draft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
it
the
was
draft.
punked.
People
Yeah,
called
yeah.
him. Ugh. Was that true, by the way?
Yeah, it
It's
was
true.
That was true?
It
My
was.
son gave that to me. He's like, look, Dad, look what happened. I'm like,
Is Atlanta Falcons one of their coaches' son? Yeah, it was.
Just
that was an Atlanta Falcon coach's
Yeah, they got
son that
fined a
punked
lot
him?
of money.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's terrible. It was terrible.
Okay, so we're on, what do we do to fight back?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Simple things. One thing, it doesn't cost anything. Update your devices. regularly, update the applications on the devices regularly. You're going to hate me for this, John.
I'm
but,
already. I'm
two-factor authentication. I can't stress that enough. You got to have that.
God, I hate it.
Is that really important?
Here's also the most simple thing that you can do. Don't use the same password everywhere.
Oh, Kyle, you're killing me, man.
Use a password manager. Mix those up a little bit.
But
Let
what
it
is a good-
generate.
Is there a type that you could get that I guess we're not supposed to tell brands, but is there something that would be like something that would be good to?
Yeah, there's several different ones out there. There's actually one that comes installed on the Apple device automatically, but there's several third-party that you can subscribe to, or some of them offer free tiers that you can also do as well. But use it.
Password manager.
Here's what I wonder about that. So far you've mentioned some things. I've heard that. Yes, we make jokes. John and I get annoyed at having to update computers and change passwords, and two-factor authentication drives us nuts. But I'm asking a question because I don't really know the answer to this, but I suspect that I know that the answer to the fact of those are simple things.
Sure.
How effective are they, really?
Really effective.
Really, they're high-level
They're-
effective, aren't
right.
they?
Because
Go ahead.
it's always about what you know, what you have. So, for instance, like if you know somebody's password, okay, that's through the first door. But if they have two-factor authentication on, well, now you'll get a notification on your phone if you're using some type of authenticator app or something like that. You'll get a notification that says, "Hey, I need you to approve this." And so they're not getting through the second door if they can't get through the front, if they get past the first door. So
Right.
it is effective.
Does it almost essentially cease activity? Like it stops the fraudster in his tracks.
Oh yeah.
Is that a fair
I mean,
statement?
they can't access it without that
They have
verification.
to have both things. And what are the chances those are going to have both things?
Well, very slim. I'll
Very
be
slim.
honest, very slim, because that authenticator is that information right there is on your device,
Or
That's
even just
something-
your email.
That's something
They
you
would
have.
need-
Or you get
yeah.
you get something sent to your text messaging from let's say USAA, and or Suncoast Schools or LeCap, or these are my thing, and I have like 6, and then Suncoast School asked me to remember 7. Now I've gotten up to 6, and at my age, I'm doing fairly well to be able to remember that.
Right.
But I can't. I have a hard time hitting 7. So, but that seems to, you have to go through a lot to be able to get into your account.
But yeah, see, I'm thinking like in order to cross over and get my bank account or my money or my function, if I simply have a two-factor authentication process, they would have to abduct me physically, have my phone plus my email, send it, get that code themselves, have me disabled in the room in order to actually be able to effectively get to
Now,
my
what
account.
if you
Now,
got a
I'm
fingerprint
drawing that
scanner?
out to say
Right.
like this is that effective, isn't it?
It is. It very is, because
can you
that's
get-
something you have on you. You know that device that you're sending it to, whether it SMS or authenticator application is actually better. So I would highly encourage
Yeah, I
that
get confused
versus
by those
SMS.
things, though.
But that I would suggest that.
So like banks, they do the authenticator
Absolutely.
app and all
Yeah, they
that.
require everyone
Right.
to engage that way.
Well, and then you have for your own personal, you have your fingerprint, you have your, which is, and then you have facial recognition,
Right.
and so that helps. But you get people that get right behind you or something like that, and you're like in a coffee shop, and it's public Wi-Fi, and people can count your taps on your laptop, can't they? Or
Oh,
your
it can be
tablet?
even more scary than that
Yeah.
if you really want me to tell you about that. There's devices out there
But-
that you can mimic their Wi-Fi, and that person will actually, whoever's in that coffee shop
They
will
could
join
tap
their
into
Wi-Fi.
your video camera surveillance and then see what you're typing in, can't they?
Well, they could if you had something.
You have to give
watching,
them access.
right. If you had
Okay.
something, I mean, it would take a little bit. It just depends on the type of.
I mean, if they want it
technology being
bad
used.
enough,
Yeah.
okay.
So let's move this back just a little bit to effective
Again,
things
make-
that you can do
Yeah.
to protect yourself. We're in this,
And you're
element.
making us feel more secure by saying how almost impossible it is.
Right, and that's kind of why I was doing that. But let's think about some things just in your own personal day-to-day
Yeah.
life.
Well,
Okay,
think
let's
about
let's
an
think
email.
of the emotional pieces. Don't be alone. Ask a friend. Have conversations about this. Check this
Be
stuff
prepared.
out. Right,
Rehearse.
Like, what are some emotional things that we can do? Is what I'm curious.
So, in other words, have practice mindfulness.
Right,
And
go further with that.
Yeah, and by that I mean, in other words, is you stop, you put a halt or a stop sign in your mind when you, if you, instead of just doing something mindlessly, you say, okay, I don't recognize this from somebody. It looks like it's something coming from somebody that's harmless, and it can even malicious stuff can come through something that has been scanned, and it might just be cutting edge and have a virus installed in it. So you have to say, I don't click on this.
So,
And
Kyle,
just
there's
intentionally-
technical things that we can do, but I'm asking you about the emotional things, if that makes sense, right?
He's absolutely not wrong, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things is just being aware, have situational awareness, for whatever you're looking at. So if you're reading an email, for instance, and it seems like it has some type of urgency around for it, it's like, okay, well, am I expecting that? Did I really go to that place? If I get my Netflix, if I'm getting a notification that says my Netflix subscription is going, and payment has been declined, well, do you really have a Netflix app, subscription? if you don't, then that's probably malicious. So
Wow,
don't
right,
worry
yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
It's just being
Slow
cognitively
down.
aware, right? Because I know a lot of people, they're quick to say. The statistic is, and this is going to scare you, within 83 seconds of someone getting an email, they will have to click on that link and put in, confidential or sensitive information into
Wow.
whatever
83
site.
seconds.
Right,
Minute and a
that's
half.
as long as it takes.
Yeah.
Less than a minute and a half.
Just ask somebody about the email.
Yeah. So to your
Just
point, slow
slow
down.
down.
Slow down. Yeah.
Stay calm and be, mindful in
Right.
the fear that you have.
Just
Yeah,
like that. Just like the Easy Pass, SMS, text that we've been getting, for like the last month. I don't wait a minute. I did go on a toll road, but what I know I can go to the Easy Pass site and I can put in my information on a validated site.
Oh, you're talking
And
about
then-
the tolls,
right.
actually. And
And then I can actually see if I have any tolls on there versus clicking on the link or whatever was sent to you. Those are the kinds of things.
I think it might also take some time for us to get used to that, because remember when emails first came out, well, I'm that old, I remember that, is that you'd get something and something nasty from somebody, and then immediately you just want to go in there and do that.
exactly.
manage
And
the
ma-
anger.
manage the anger.
Right.
And so you have to learn how to manage the emotion to that. So that puts the responsibility on the person, that is receiving it.
And John, you and I know on a day-to-day or on a functional level, like how often or how much do people manage their emotion in a given moment?
What if somebody had just had an
a
event
struggle.
happen before, and now they get this other email? Right? That's
Oh, wow,
malicious,
now you're
right?
reoffended. Oh, my gosh, go with that. What does that mean?
I mean, so if maybe they got into a situation with their boss or a friend or whatever, and it was very heated or something, now they're anger or very emotional, and they get this other email. They didn't pay attention to it, and they just go ahead and click on it, and they didn't care because they were not thinking. They were.
Well, what's funny, you're right. When that happened to me, like I said, I don't really remember what my mental state was, to be honest with you. But you're actually bringing it back, because I think I was stressed that day. I mean, I had kind of a lot going on.
Right.
I had a lot on my desk, and then I got this random call, and I'm like, oh no, wait, you got my interest, but it's almost like a subconscious hypnosis impulsive thing. Like, boom, now you got my attention. Now you employ the things that we were just talking about, and it's just easy to get.
You
going.
took my mind off what I was actually thinking about.
Right. It's a psychology thing. You just get switched
Right.
in the moment, and you don't even know it.
Sure.
It's wild. Gosh, I don't know, John. Where do we go? We need to. I feel like we need to talk for another hour, bro. I don't know what.
There's so much to this. There really is.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you saying, John?
No. I think maybe a program in the future would be.
Yeah, we might need
It's a refresher.
We seriously might need a follow up because I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many elements to this, and
Because we're living in such an. We are. The technology is just running so far ahead of us, and we're still on the African savannah, and we're running as fast as we can, and we're prey. We're not used to being prey animals, and
Right.
and we're used to being the hunters. But there are people out there that see us as prey, and
well, you know, I very much have begun to think about, you know, I've talked about on the show many times, you know, the social media reality is brand new to the human race. Like, I don't think humans understand how to use it. It's happened so fast. The technological improvements are like immediate, and I honestly, I have a lot of hope. All right, well, we may go a little bit longer than normal today, just minutes, but I have a lot of hope in Gen Z, to be honest with you. And I'm curious if you probably may not be able to speak to this because I'm sure all of your customers and stuff are older and own companies and stuff, and Gen Zers are still pretty young. But I am finding that they're kind of like turning it off. Like, kids put their phones away because they want to go play their video game and use other technology platforms and whatnot. But they're getting out of social media and stuff. Like, my son graduates high school and he doesn't care about his Snapchat streaks anymore. He doesn't, you know, he gets his news from Instagram and stuff. But I guess I'm wondering out loud, like, are we catching up to understanding these things? Because
That's a
it's
good
happened
question.
so fast to us. Like, your entire career,
Right.
You're novel. Meaning humans have never dealt with this before, right?
Right, but that's a good question. You know, I do know of some cases where people, these young folks, are putting their phones down and trying to do other
Isn't that
things.
awesome?
Right, I love it. Right, because when I grew up, my dad told me to go outside, go outside and play, come home in the dark. Right. Now, you know, most kids don't do that, especially during. You know, I remember my daughter going through when COVID. She stayed in the house. She stayed
Oh
on
my
that
gosh.
device. Right.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And you know, these are the kinds of things that I wanted to break the habit of. Now it's a little bit different with her. She's not on it as much. Don't get me wrong; she's still on it, but not as much.
I have a millennial daughter she's on Facebook all the time, and she gets all her values from Facebook.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I almost feel like it's worse for the millennials because they, you know, particularly if you're an older millennial, you didn't have that as a child, and it was like new when it was cool, and it's extended into adulthood. Now it's not new for the kiddos, and they graduate and they get into adulthood, and they're kind of like, all right, that was a kid crap. I don't want to do the kid crap no more, right? I mean, is that starting? What do you see?
I'm starting to see some of that,
Yeah.
but I still see, you know, quite a few that, you know, just
well, fair enough.
gravitate to that, right?
I'm going to hang on to my hope a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to hopeful. I'm going to hope we're with you.
John, you have thoughts? We'll get to the shrink wrap up.
No, I think we probably boldly need to go where no one's gone before. Just like they said, the 5-year mission for the Enterprise and Star Trek. We have to be cutting edge, and we have to be able to maybe be alert as to where technology is taking us, because if we're not doing this as therapists and in business, or as parents, or as teachers, or as leaders, we are going to lose a generation. They may get lost, and so it's incumbent for us to be able to keep up with it, and to perhaps even anticipate where some of the pitfalls are.
Okay, Neil, did you hear that? Were you tuned in? Because I think that's John's shrink wrap up. That was well said. I'm probably giving you the win, but that was really well said. So Kyle, we have started a tradition on the show that we invite you to be a part of. The show ends, we do a shrink wrap up, so we all take a turn to kind of say, you know, what are the closing thoughts? What do we really want people to get with this? And then Neil gets to decide who wins the proverbial championship of the week to see who did the best job. And I'll go ahead first, give you a second to think on what your wrap up would be, because my thing is, you know, this really is for all of us. This is not something that is your knucklehead neighbor or your disabled bodied person or just the old folk. This is really all of us, and it dramatically impacts the way that we feel and the way that we operate. Whether you're anxious about being a victim, or you're in shame and guilt about having become, or any of that, the simple things that we can do to protect ourselves are important, and we're learning. So we're learning and doing this together, and I want people to be hopeful about what they can do for themselves. That's my wrap up.
Yeah.
What you got?
I would just tell everybody, you're not alone in this. It may feel like it. But if you get into a situation where it seems uncomfortable, where you may not be in familiar territory, just pause. Call somebody. Call that family member that you got that phone call from that may be in dire straits, that's claiming to be in dire straits. But reach out to somebody. Talk to them, talk with it through them. And what I would also say is just use that millennial age and use that Gen Zs to help you secure some of that technology that you're messing around with, because it's very important. They know
I love
how
that.
to do it.
Grandmama,
Right?
Grandpapas, talk to the grandchildren.
Right,
Man.
right.
Let them get in there.
They're going to know how to. They're going to know how to help protect yourself a little bit. So
and
use
deal
that.
with the shame so that you can allow
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
to do that. Neil, I feel like we're getting better at this shrink wrap up, brother. I don't think I want to be him from week to week. What you got? What you hearing?
It is getting harder. You got to start bringing on these experts that know their topic and know their source so well. Wow, this is tough.
Got to do it.
Do I have to do it? I can't use the cop out last week of like, oh, you all were great. I have to pick one this time.
We were all great last week.
I think Chris, I liked yours this week. I actually really did. I like that piece of it. So yeah, but I think every point was valid. But Chris, yours stood out this week.
I'm actually kind of shocked. I really thought you had it, John. I thought you had it, man.
It's not a competition.
Nah, it's a fun competition, and yeah, exactly. Neil's like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start bribing him. No, Kyle, I really appreciate you stopping out, man, and,
Thank you
and
for having
helping
me.
us with such a big topic. I hope that we didn't short angles of this thing, because it is an important thing. And yeah, we might want to grab you back if you're
That's fine. Yeah,
willing.
absolutely.
We got to get your wife to come on next time, though.
Yeah.
She's going to give us an angle that I think is amazing. She's hanging out with us today, so really I appreciate you
No, thank you.
stopping out. How do people find you again? What do you want people to know? Yeah.
I will give you the information so you can post it on the show notes.
LinkedIn.
I'll get you LinkedIn. Yes, you can find my email address, and I think I have my phone number listed out there. So if you so choose, but yeah, that's the best way to find me.
Kyle King sows hope in all of us as far as technology
Wonderful,
and
man.
fraud goes.
You can remember it.
go.
Yes, indeed. Listen, take care. We will see you next week. Stay well. All right. We'll see you then.